Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my first impressions reaction to Close Enough. This is a J.G. Quintel series, the same creator as regular show, and this is one I have seen a lot of people praising. And I've seen a lot of people praise regular show, and I've seen some of regular show on the reactions and all, and I liked it. Maybe I will get back to that at some point. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure yet on that one. But I've been kind of curious about this because this is I know this is a more adult-oriented cartoon. But it's from the same creator. It's got a lot of the same style to it. Like, you can very much clear it's this. What did I just say? You can very much tell it's the same, like, visual style, the same type of character designs, all of that jazz. I don't know too much about this series. All I know, again, is it's a more adult-oriented cartoon from J.G. Quintel. And I know that Kimiko Glenn is in it. Kimiko Glenn was Izzy in My Little Pony: A New Generation. She's also done other stuff, and I can never 100% remember exactly what else she's known for. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. Because I sometimes confuse her with someone else, and I hate that. It bothers me so much, but I do, and I won't argue that. She's in Orange is the New Black. She was, oh God, what is the name? Penny Parker in Into the Spider-Verse. So she was in that. She's Lena in DuckTales. Apparently she's in BoJack Horseman and Centaur World as well. Never seen either of those, so I can't say anything about that. Oh, she was in Over the Moon as Auntie May and Lulu. So there's that. She was General Azor in Voltron Legendary Defender. That's right, I did hear about that. And that's pretty much the gist of it. But yeah. So she's in this. The big thing I know her for is Izzy, of course. But I know some of those other roles. I do know she's in this. I don't know who else might be in this, though. And I've seen fan art. Both safe for work and not of these characters. So there's that. But I've seen quite a bit of it too, so it seems like people really do like this series enough to draw the characters, at least. I don't know, like, I don't know how the general, like, comedy style, like, that I know from regular show will adjust completely to more adult-oriented content, because the regular show's comedy style is very eclectic and random. It's like, it'll make just the most random bullshit jokes, like, out of nowhere for no reason. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the thing is, there could have been some, like, things that it's like, oh yeah, as an adult you would definitely get more of a kick out of that than a kid would. But it never really reached into full adult territory. So I'm just wondering how more adult content and jokes would work for that kind of style with it being so eclectic. Of course, I don't know if that's even what this show is like comparatively. It might be a little more down to earth with its comedy. I don't know. I just know what some of the characters look like, basically. But I'm interested in giving it a shot. I'm interested in giving it a shot, seeing what I think of it, and hopefully I end up really liking it. Maybe it can be put onto the schedule at some point. Because for those who don't know, a first impressions reaction is exactly that. I check out the first episode, sometimes two, of a series and determine whether or not I want to continue reacting to it in the future. It's basically previewing a show beforehand that I'm not as confident about, just to see if it's worth checking out. And sometimes a show that I like this way might actually surprise me and be really good, or that I watch this way might end up surprising me and end up being really good. Sometimes I might not enjoy it. So it's something I want to that I do to try and just give myself a little heads up on how I might feel about a show. So hopefully I'll end up liking this enough to continue it. But we'll see. Either way, we're just going to get this started, find out, and hope for the best. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Yeah, this is clearly the same person who made regular show. It's super obvious that it's the same style, even the same kind of humor, just obviously more adult. I was wondering about that in the pre-thoughts, but I think it actually did kind of translate well. Obviously it was adult humor. Obviously it was more mature in a lot of ways, but it actually works for the style, I feel. And I did look it up, and yeah, this was just one episode. I don't know why they showed the opening twice in that regard, but it was like a episode like 1A and 1B kind of situation. And there's 2 seasons so far. Both seasons have 8 episodes. So it's actually fairly short, which is, I guess it was like released on streaming, so I guess that kind of makes sense. A lot of shows released for streaming these days are pretty short, about 8 to 10 episodes usually. So yeah, I guess I'll just talk about each half of this episode separately. So the first one was Quilty Pleasures. So it's one of those shows where you're just kind of thrown into it. It doesn't like have like an introductory episode per se, kind of like Adventure Time, I guess. So Josh and Emily are our main couple. They're a married couple living with a divorced couple, who are friends of theirs, in order to just kind of get by. They go up to pick up their young daughter from school and learn that she has yet to turn in her project for this group project, this quilt that they're making in school. So they force their friends, their roommates, to babysit their daughter while they travel to collect the materials, and the setup is fairly simple, fairly easy to understand and everything. It's once they get to the second half of this first half of the episode that it gets really fucking weird. Because they're at this fashion district place, and they're collecting the material. Well, Emily's collecting materials. Josh is getting distracted by everything. And he ends up getting his wallet stolen by what is clearly a kid, but they're hiding the kid's identity for some reason. So they go into... So it goes into night, everything closes down, but they're missing materials. And that's when they end up chasing down the kid that stole Josh's wallet and find a bunch of British orphans just wanting to be parented, which is really just fucking out there and weird. But then on top of it, they do this, they parent them, and the orphans help them make the quilt and everything, and it's nice. And then they just think like, oh, we did this for our daughter, let's just have sex right here in this alley. Because what? I don't feel like that would be a comfortable experience. But apparently they liked it. They wake up the next morning covered in the quilt and everything, surrounded by the kids who are revealed to not be British orphan kids, but homeless old people who are just really small and not actually British. And they're kind of crazy. And apparently they are still interested in being parented. And so while Josh and Emily try to run, they force them to stop, or try to force them to stop. But Josh and Emily do end up getting away after this bird that Josh had bought is violently murdered by the bird of the homeless people. Like it literally gets decapitated, and it's like, oh my god. I mean, there's no like heavy blood or anything, but Jesus. They make their way out. They get back to the house, find out Candace has already been brought to the school after one of their roommates is removed from a vent. Who knows what actually happened? We're not given that information. They go, everything's fine, like the quilt was made. Candace made her own quilt, and yeah, everything's good, I guess. It's just like, it goes from 0 to 100 really quickly. And like the characters are pretty goofy and ridiculous, and it's like, these are millennial parents, aren't they? Just the way they act. It's like, these are supposed to be millennial parents, I feel. And their roommates are probably the same. They're probably millennials. The way they talk, the way they act, it very much reads that way. And it's like, I kind of like that. Because you don't see that a lot in a lot of these shows. And a lot of shows, well, I mean, it's getting more common, I guess, more recently. But in a lot of shows, parents are often what you would expect parents in a show to be. Whether it's animated or live action, it's like there's a very specific idea of that. And yet nowadays a lot of millennial parents and everything they're still millennials. They still joke, they play video games and shit. And apparently the new Rugrats actually did this very well. I haven't seen the new Rugrats, but there's apparently a part where it shows like Stu playing video games and stuff because they modernized it so that the parents in the Rugrats are millennials now. And it's like, huh, okay. But I kind of like that. And Josh and Emily rather, are really likable. They're absolute goofballs to like a very high degree. Josh is kind of a moron, but he's a likable moron. And Emily actually seems a lot smarter. For one, she's very fluent in Spanish, which her name is Emily Ramirez, so she seems to be at least part Hispanic. So that explains that, which is really cool. Really cool to see. It's just always cool to see that kind of diversity in these cartoons with our main characters, which has been obviously getting a lot more common recently. But she seems a lot smarter, a lot more put together, but she's still a fucking weirdo too. And I like that. I like that she can be both. But let's talk about the second one, because the second one was much more insane, but also really funny, and it's what I wish WandaVision actually was. Because Emily has become obsessed with visiting open houses. She knows she can't buy these houses, they're too expensive. She just likes going to the open houses, checking them out, checking out like awesome floor plans and the drawers that don't slam because they have a special mechanism in them and stuff like that. So one day, just being completely overwhelmed by everything happening in her apartment, she needs to get out because her husband's being an absolute moron. Emily, no, Emily's her. What am I talking about? Uh, I'm gonna try to get the names down. I'm looking at things here. Alex and Bridget. Okay, Bridget. She's half naked, painting with her body, which is like, girl. I mean, you go for that. It's like, hey, be creative. Hell yeah. Um, and Alex is some weird conspiracy theorist who might not be okay. It's kind of implied. But she's basically just being overwhelmed, like just a complete what's the word? There's a word for it, and I can't think of it at the moment. But she's just being completely like a sensory overload. That's what I was thinking. Not a word, but a phrase, a term. She's basically feeling sensory overload, and she just needs to get out. So she goes off to another open house, ends up meeting as this describes, a stressed out father named Dave, and this young pop star who's also just there. And they decide to pretend to be a family just to enjoy the open house for a little bit, and suddenly get stuck in a parallel universe sitcom thing, and it's like, what? And like she's even like pointing out like the laughter and everything of the studio audience and shit, and it's like, oh my god, this is what WandaVision wanted to be but failed at. And I know some people will probably not like that I'm bashing on WandaVision, but WandaVision I just feel failed in what it was trying to do. It didn't really work out right for me. It wasn't bad, like the show wasn't terrible or anything. It wasn't quite it didn't quite master what it was trying to do with the entire sitcom idea and the kind of like psychological thriller aspect of it. But this actually takes it from more of a thriller to a horror aspect when Emily can't get out. She's just stuck in this sitcom, and Josh finds her here and ends up getting stuck in it too, and it's like, oh, okay. And it actually gets kind of scary at points, and it's like it was clearly like, even with the title and everything and everything, like Dave's full name is obviously a play on Dave Coulier from Full House. It's like, and that's why he was blonde in the sitcom despite not being blonde in real life. And it's like, I get what you're doing here, and I kind of love it. And at first they try to go against the sitcom's formula to get out of it, and so Emily just flashes her tits and starts cussing and putting up middle fingers, and it's like, girl, you just went all out. Like you did not hold back. But then they realize that they have to actually go along with the sitcom formula, so Emily basically airs out her feelings, and it works. They're able to escape. I also love like when she walks out the door, like going back into real life, like she looks so disheveled, like because she's been there for so long. She's been there for days and everything, and it's like, as we found out from when Josh was talking to the delivery man, and it's just like, oh, I kind of like that visual representation of that. And then you see like everyone's coming out, and then you see Dave's wife and kids coming up. The kids are like screeching for some reason, and she's like, these kids are making a noise, I don't know what to do. And he's like, nope, I'm going back to the sitcom. And it's like, this was actually super well done and really fucking funny and meta, and I love it. And I love the characters' reactions to it. I really liked this. Like, it feels like regular show, just not quite as random, but also still very fucking random. Maybe it's just because this takes place with more like human characters and whatnot. It's not as weird and out there in that regard. Um, the humor, again, is very much the same, just with a more adult edge to it, using language and sexuality and whatnot, and even death. um, it's pretty out there, but I actually really love it. And I enjoy the characters so far. As I said, I really like that. I really like Josh and Emily being like these millennial parents to this young girl and everything, like this 5-year-old girl or whatever age she's supposed to be. How they're absolute total goobers, but at the same time, it's like they're super likable. I like that they live with roommates who are their friends who are also divorced. It feels very real to life in real life. Well, it feels like real life millennials having to live with friends and shack up because they don't have other options. Um, in order to save money, in order to be able to raise their families properly or just live, they have to do what they have to do. And I kind of like the dynamics with that. I like the implications and the possibilities that it could go to. Even though we didn't see a lot of them, I do like Alex and Bridget so far. Again, Alex just is one of those characters. It's like you just kind of wonder if he's okay. Like, do we need to sit Alex down and talk to him? He just seems like he might not be okay. And Bridget is just like, she seems like a free spirit, which is very fitting with her voice actress, being the same VA as Izzy from MLP: A New Generation. Very fitting. She seems like a free spirit. She's an artist, it appears to be. And she seems like she's not too fond of like watching over kids, but at the same time, it's like you kind of get it. You kind of get where she's coming from in that regard. And maybe that's also because my sister is very much the same way, not into kids at all. So I have experienced that kind of personality. And again, Josh and Emily, total goobers. Josh is kind of an idiot, but a likable idiot. He's fun. He likes to get involved in some really just honestly kind of stupid stuff. But he's passionate about it. And Emily is a lot smarter, but she's also a total goober as well. She's into certain things that just kind of take her away from all the noise of life sometimes. She's big into escapist stuff. But she adores her family and everything, and I really love this. I think I really do love this. It's not like my favorite first episodes of something, my favorite pilot to a series I've seen by any means, but I really did enjoy it. Like, I genuinely enjoyed this. And so I think it's pretty obvious, but yeah, we are continuing this. This is being added to the schedule. I don't know when we're going to get to it, but this one is a must watch, I feel. And again, it's only 8 episodes per season, 2 seasons so far. I feel like that's perfectly fine. I feel like I can handle that easily. So yeah, tell me in the comments below, what do you think of Close Enough, of the first episode? And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.